Nice. Well, it's good to see a lot of people in this room. My old intern is here. And the guy who really deserves all the credit for all the information we're going to talk about is here too. So, and I had some jokes to tell to kind of, talk smooth and get warmed up. But earlier this week I wrecked my bike and I fell on my head. And so I could barely remember my name for a couple of days. So if anything comes out backwards or anything, it's because of that.
That's your excuse, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But to start with, I'm going to talk a little bit about mobile adoption among farmers. To start with, that is a huge part of our business right now, and really, I'm going to throw quite a bit of them at you, but there's a real point to this, so bear with me. To start with, farmers have the number of farmers accessing the web, and we're talking about a survey group that we just queried. Guys, that fit Larry's profile. Guys, average age of 60, and with the average number of acres of 1,400. So we're talking about sort of the average farmer that we serve. And we sort of go by the mantra that, and a lot of large agribusinesses do the same, that there are about 100,000 farmers that we target and that a lot of agri-marketers target in terms of major purchase decisions and things like that. So we really strive to get a good cross-section of that group. And 78% of farmers are accessing the web at least once a day. 34% are using Facebook. 43% are using YouTube. Only 6% are using Twitter thus far. YouTube numbers have doubled. Facebook numbers have doubled. Twitter numbers have gone from 1% to 6%, and that's just in the last year. Facebook, 90% of the people who use it to stay in touch with friends and family, folks like that. However, Twitter and YouTube are more used to find product information. So farmers are using that more as a business tool than they are just kind of for kicks. 91% of these farmers that we queried own a mobile phone. And 23% use it for email, 21% use it for the web. Now we're talking just phones, not necessarily a smartphone, but everybody remembers like the Verizon web browser that you could use on your flip phone that took you half an hour to check your email and stuff like that. So believe it or not, there are still a lot of people using those tools. And right now, our numbers show that 15% of farmers have smartphones. And to put that in perspective, that's tripled in the last 3 years. And we're really looking right now at smartphone adoption and mobile use adoption. The curve is sharper than the internet usage numbers were in 1995 and in subsequent years after we launched our website. So the adoption of mobile among farmers is the speed at which that is taking place is much faster than the web adoption was in the earlier days of the web. And so turning to smartphones, about 2/3 of those are on the Android platform, and about 1/4 of them are on iPhones. The rest are on Blackberries and Windows Mobile and other platforms like that. And so the point of all of those numbers is farmers are adopting the mobile web a hell of a lot faster than the general public is. Farmers are using it, and they're using some utilities just the way the general public is to, like for example, Facebook is just kind of to keep in touch with friends and family and stuff. But they're using it as a business utility, and they're using apps like, you got a good rundown of some apps earlier. They're using some apps like that, but they're just using the basic communication tools, the native functions of the phone. That's sort of the backbone of all of this. And so really the successful, effective mobile apps are ones that build upon those native functions the best, and instead of trying to sort of reinvent the wheel. And so specific to our website at agriculture.com, we launched our mobile site, and this is where Matt will probably have to stand up and correct me. But 3 years ago, we launched our mobile site. We used kind of a white label, off-the-shelf platform, and then shortly thereafter started developing our own mobile platform. And in that process, we did a lot of research and we looked at what information farmers want to see on the mobile platform. I'll shake the person's hand who can tell me what is the #1 specific piece of information a farmer wants off a mobile site.
Weather.
Markets.
More specific.
December corn price.
That's exactly right. Yep, they want to know the nearby corn price. And shortly, you know, not far down from there is weather. And so, you know, these things, when we look at the development of mobile utilities, you know, that's such an intuitive, basic thing. But yet, that's what that's an enormous driver of traffic. And so when we redesigned our own mobile site, we designed it in such a way that the nearby corn price would be right at the top, because that's what everybody wants to see. And so really the design of things on the mobile platform takes intuition more than anything. I know nothing about web design. I couldn't write enough code to, you know, work my way out of a wet paper sack, but I do understand what people use on these platforms and how we can develop tools to execute what they want to see. So yeah, the types of information are different. The stuff they want to see is different. Design is very different. You know, what was the old phrase John used to use? Big greasy fingers. That's what we'd use. You know, farmers, you know, we generalize a lot. Farmers have big hands and they're out working in the shop and stuff, and then they reach down to check the markets or check the weather on their phone. You know, a screen this size is bad enough, but when you've got buttons this big and somebody's fumbling around, you know, trying to figure it out, it doesn't work. So we designed, so again, you know, it's a very easy connection to make. It's very intuitive. We designed so we've got big buttons, big things for people to touch, because it's an ease of use issue. And those real intuitive things translate immensely to bigger traffic. And going back to sort of the types of information, and kind of going into the other part of my little chat here is interactivity. We've seen just in the last couple of months interactivity among farmers, specifically in forums and things like that, on our mobile platform and elsewhere, is really growing. And that's another area where the content and the what they want to talk about is a lot different. You know, somebody sitting behind their monitor in their office might type a treatise in a farm business forum, for example, about land values or something like that. But if they've got their phone and they're sitting in the cab of their pickup, they're just going to type as brief a response or comment as they can. And so there's another very intuitive thing. You know, people want to interact, but they want to do it in a way that really is brief and short to the point. And so we try to foster an environment where we make it easy for people to do that. And so consequently, with by sort of following some of these intuitive things, we have seen our mobile traffic just this last month. 20% of our overall website traffic is mobile, and I think it was 2 or 3% just as much as 6 months ago or 8 months ago, something like that. And so it has just exploded. And again, that's way faster than the web was. And so we're sitting on the cusp right now of a time of immense adoption of mobile. And I venture to say that 5 years from now, 90+% of farmers will have a smartphone and will use it, and it will likely replace computers like we have on this table here. One final part of that, looking ahead, is, you know, I talked about native functions of the phone and how that's sort of the basis for applications and activities that farmers use mobile phones for. We're going to start seeing sort of activity that's bolted on to those native functions. For example, we're working on a function now where it'll be a location-based service, and it will tie to a commercial messaging type of a platform where somebody can see an offer from a retailer, from their co-op or something like that, and they can maybe tie that to their agronomic conditions at the point at which they're standing right there. So say they're in the field, and say they can do a soil test right there, get some results from a soil test at the exact point where they're standing, and then say, oh, you need some phosphorus. Okay, well, here's your nearest co-op location. Buy some phosphorus. Now here's how, and maybe here's a coupon for 10% off your next order, and here's the phone number. And so we're starting with a location-based service, and we're taking that multiple steps forward through that whole decision-making process. It's no longer a point of entry for a decision-making process. Now it's going to become the whole thing. And we have growing capabilities to take some of this agricultural specific information and tie it to some of these basic functions of smartphones. So it's a very exciting time to be in this business, and if you have any questions about any of this, just ask Matt afterward, because he knows more than I do. So.